You're so confident and you seem so optimistic. I have to ask a last question about this.
Yeah, of course.
Do you feel, or have you been through any, outside of the picture thing, because that doesn't seem, outside of that situation, have you been through any overt sexism or racism throughout your time in school and or during and doing this project?
Well, doing this project, I saw the sexism part coming, so I set myself up in a way that I have specific, both me and Olivia have specific contacts that communicate with specific people on our behalf.
Yes.
For specific situations, just because we don't even want to have that conversation.
You don't want to deal with it.
I just don't want to start with that conversation because there's a bigger goal.
Of course.
There's a bigger goal ahead of us. And if I can not even start that as an obstacle between us getting this project built for those kids in Kapchora, we will find ways to go around it.
You just don't want to deal with that.
We just would not want to have to deal with that part of it. But as in terms of school, I've gone through enough of it. I mean, think about being educated by a staff that is predominantly white, straight, male.
Yes.
It is very hard for them to imagine how I go through my daily life. They just cannot.
They have no consent. Like they can't see it. They don't have a perspective.
They just cannot. And should I have a challenge, maybe understanding something or thinking of something or seeing something the way they see it, they'll be very like, how can you not understand that?
Of course.
Right?
Yes.
And when they think of, I'll give you an example of architecture. A lot of times when you're designing, there's what they call giving you precedence. And that is basically look at other examples of architecture designs out there for you to relate with. But a lot of the precedents that they give are in places I never would have been able to go to. They're talking about architecture progress in, buildings in Germany, in Italy, in Spain. And I'm like, when in all of my life would I have even afforded to go to all these countries to see all of these programs? And when you think about even just like reading it in a book, I started reading about architectural precedents as we know them when I was availed the resources at Cornell.
Oh, wow.
Because there's just no one out there telling you, oh, look at these things. There's just no one. And there's no sense of consideration in those terms.
Yeah, the assumption is, why haven't you been to Italy on vacation?
Or even just as simple as, why have you not been to all the museums in DC? But every single museum has a cost to get in.
Oh, geez.
When you calculate every single payment I would have to make to go through all those museums, where am I supposed to get all of that income, right?
Okay. Yes.
So there's a lot of things that they don't consider in terms of background and opportunity. Yeah. And I think for me, that's why I'm so passionate about educational access, because we cannot take for granted what has been given to us, because there's so many other people that have just not been given the same opportunity.
That's awesome.
And we have to be very aware of that.
Okay.
And I think going through that process with Cornell, and I don't blame people for certain things that they do, because they've just been availed different resources compared to how we have. But I really appreciate when people take the step to actually understand and learn and accept how different all of us are, right? So it's just different challenges we go through, and
I love it. And I think you're right, because I feel like I'm on the same page. Mm-hmm. It's really, so the assumptions people make, it's unconscious biases people have. It's hard to. You don't want to be upset with people, but you just want to let them know this is just not a reality that I am able to live or have lived, right? Yes. So we have to change that situation. But ignorance is abundant, even when you are at an amazing place like Cornell.
Right. No, definitely. When I think of the cost of architectural materials, which is not on the $70,000 you're paying a year, it's a lot. Yes. And we have, and professors have no shame in saying, you know what, I need you to build a model that is this big. And when you really come down to looking at the numbers and looking at how much material you have to buy, it just doesn't add up with what you availed. And these are conversations that need to be had. And these are the steps where any child that is in any, so basically anyone who's in a program where you have to get resources outside of what is provided as tuition, please talk to your professors. Let them know that maybe you just don't have access to some things. Can they rethink something, or can you use a different material, or can you use a different medium?
Yes.
Because, I mean, I can think of when I was a freshman and we had to have this drawing set that was literally $1,000. But no one tells you when you're coming in that
Are you serious?
it is $1,000 to get literally a drawing board with all the pencils, and it is costed to $1,000, and you need it in the first week of college.
Oh my God. So this is like on top of the books, on top of all of that stuff. They're like, this is just something you need to get and do it. Oh,
right.
God.
And okay, now I have a board. Okay, let's say for some reason I find that $1,000, buy the board and draw and all of this. Then they're like, oh, by the way, you better have a laptop that is up to this speed, that has all this software and you're just like, that's a lot.
There's a lot.
All of that is money.
That's a really good point, because my brother's doing engineering, and he's always his laptop is like a fat, like crazy size laptop, and I'm like, why in the world? And it's like, because you need X, Y, and Z. You need this software, and you need this much GPM, and all of that stuff is added up. And if you come to college, you go to college with a regular laptop, and you have to pay for your books, and then the drawing pad, and then they tell you need an entirely new laptop. It's like, how?
No, definitely. I mean, you just think about it. Like, for me, when I think of like the machine I have now, I had to literally work an entire summer, 40 hours a week for an entire summer to afford my laptop now.
That's insane.
I love my laptop. She's literally my life, but she costs me a lot of money that I never thought I would have to spend, but I made it work.
Yes.
But there are some people who maybe just do not have that opportunity.
You can't have.
You just can't.
And if you don't, so is it like, can you go to the library? Like, how? Okay, so that's an entire. It's crazy. I'm just, how would you?